Welcome to part 2 of using GeoLine roadmaps. In this blog, you'll learn about the progress bars section of the roadmap, more filtering options, syncing changes to the roadmap, using detached instances, exporting options, adding milestones to the roadmap, and briefings. If you missed part 1 of this blog, I covered the roadmap views, filter dropdowns and timescales, and configuration options. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. As a reminder, to navigate to roadmaps, select Program in the left navigation menu, and under Manage, select Roadmap. As we take a look at the progress bar section, in the Initiatives view, with currently one PI selected, you can get details about the initiative when you hover over the arrow on each bar, and you'll get the start date, the target end date, the percent complete, and the releases that each initiative includes. If you look at the features, you'll see the start finish date and the health of it in this case, and the percent complete. As we showed earlier, you can see the stories that are associated with each of the features indicated by the number, and you can click into each of those to open the details panel for each of those stories to get more information. You can open the details panel for the other work items on the roadmap, in this case the feature, by clicking on the name of the work item in the progress bar. The dotted line shown on the roadmap indicates the current date, and that way you can get an indication of where your progress is compared to the date of each of the work items. And then you can see on these work items where there is a darker shade, which helps show visually what the percent complete is. To make this view into a more visual report, you can right-click on each bar to manually set the health of the work item. For example, this feature, the customer support, doesn't show any progress yet, so we want to let our stakeholders know that there's a concern with this feature by right-clicking on the bar and changing it to red or critical slip. The next one is 100% completed, so we can right-click on it to change the color to blue to mark it done. And then maybe this ADO feature should be colored as at risk since it hasn't been started yet. This health view is subjective and manually set by each user unless synced back to each work item. Using the filter button, you can choose an option to show only the work items for a specific field or other work item. For example, we're going to use the initiative field on this list of features to narrow it down to the microservices for MDM initiative. In this case, it takes the list from 102 features that were in the original list for the AI program in QI5 down to only the 6 that are associated with that microservices for MDM initiative. Then you can use that to report on the health of that initiative for those stakeholders that are interested. The sync button is used to make changes back to the database. When you're working with a roadmap, you can make changes and not necessarily apply them back to the underlying database. In this case, you can see what has changed on the roadmap and indicate what you would like to save back. It can be the health, it can be program increments and anchor dates, or target start and completion dates. And you can choose to sync all of these or use the X to clear out those that you don't want to sync back. The detached instances creates a saved instance of the current roadmap to use as a benchmark or a reporting tool. Creating that detached instance does not affect any of that underlying data. Any user that wants to view a detached instance, however, must be a valid user of GeoLine and signed in. No changes can be made to a detached instance. It can only be viewed, and if changes are needed to be made, it would be saved out as a new detached instance. And up to 20 detached instances can be referenced at any given time. The export button is used to export either a picture file or a CSV file to be exported. Export to CSV only exports the highest level work items shown. For example, the export would be initiatives, since we are viewing features by initiative, so the initiatives would be the ones that are exported in this case. Exporting as a PNG or picture file is useful for static presentations or reports. With this export, it's helpful to enable the permanently show dates and % complete toggle to have that information display in the PNG when it is rendered. Also note that the PNG function captures the entire roadmap shown and not just the screen view. The milestones button, there's a couple different options for using milestones. There are fixed state milestones, which are found under the Time and Skills tab on initiatives, and you can use these to track important milestones at the initiative level. If we turn that on and take a look at it, you can see that there's a star here for the alpha release, which is a fixed state milestone. And if we open up the initiative details under the Time and Skills tab, the alpha release is marked here, and that's why it's showing up as a star on the roadmap. The other option is for objective milestones, and objectives would need to be associated with the work items in order to show up on the roadmap. And so you can click on toggle between the view and the shown in order to see those show up on the roadmap here as flags. So you can hover over it and see the associated objective with each of these initiatives that are here. The last item on the roadmap to talk about today is the briefing. And the briefing allows you to create a specific roadmap for a customer. But in this case, you need to be using the customer field on a feature for this functionality to work correctly. As I've demonstrated in both overview videos, the roadmap in Jira Align provides the art, portfolio, and stakeholders a visual view into the current and future work, as well as a great progress tracking mechanism for the work committed and alignment to objectives and milestones.